Hi, I'm Stevie Boebi.
My name is Whitney.
Hi, I'm Jimanekia Eborn.
Hi, I'm Zoë Ligon, and today we are doing a sex ed roundtable discussion.
I have kind of a personal question for all of you because I know we're all in therapy, right? I'm curious, like, the last therapy session you had, what did you talk about? Like, what was the topic? You don't have to, like, go deep into it. Like, I can...
Wow, I gotta write that question down to make people uncomfortable at parties. Woo! Where's my phone?
I can't stand you. Because I know you're serious.
I'm so serious.
That is the part that I'm like, I'm going to be
You
around
don't have
her
to
in one
answer
way.
that if it's uncomfortable. But
No,
I
remember, I'm normally talking about imposter syndrome, and I'm like, things are going so well. It scares the shit out of me. And I was like, what if all these good things keep happening? And she's like, because you deserve. First of all, my therapist is a magical Black woman. And then I was talking about dating two really like amazing people that like are very supportive. And I'm like, I'm ready to break up with everyone. And she was like, okay, we're going to do this again. Because I did break up with 3 people I almost tried to break up with them on Valentine's Day, but she stopped me. So I did it the next day. But she's like, these are actually good people from what I hear. How about we just let things be good and we don't destroy them? And I was like, this is dumb. Why do I keep coming here? And she's like, okay, are we done? Can we just talk about how you deserve to have good people? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Let's talk about it. I didn't break up with anyone, so it's still working. Thanks. What'd you talk about?
Probably a lot of things. I always forget. One was, I'm so bad at selecting partners that are actually compatible with me. And so this year I've been trying to, with a lot of help from Dan, who should I date? What type of person? What sign or whatever?
I like this.
Yeah, for me to try to like hone in on the type of person that may be good for me in like a primary partnership. And so a lot of the session was me being like, am I being too picky? I've been single for so long. What am I doing? Did I go from being like not picky at all to like so extremely picky, or like what's going on? That's kind of what my session was about. Dating, weird. I don't think I've ever had a session about.
I actually was doing an Instagram share about this exact session because I love talking about triggers versus discomfort. And in order to illustrate my trigger, which is one I've been able to only identify recently, which is stuffed animals, but it's also in a very particular context, like somebody's personal stuffed animal that they love so much, not triggering to me. Lots of stuffed animals sitting on dusty shelves in a store. They don't have homes. I'm so afraid. It makes me so upset. And like it puts me in, and it's like 100% connected to a childhood thing, which is why I know it's a trigger and not just like something random. And I'm not going to go into detail on that at the moment. But I was on Amazon. Looking for animatronic dancing things because I recently posted a video of a dancing sunflower next to a vibrator. It went viral. I was like, I need more animatronic things in my content. But then I came across an animatronic dog. Then I came across like a dog, like an animatronic dog that was supposed to be like this makes me want to cry, but it's like for old people who can't take care of a pet anymore. And I was like going to bed and it just made me feel so fucking freaked out to think about like a time when you can't take care of an animal, but you like are lonely and want that love from. And I was just like, this makes me feel all types of ways. And I was like freaking out, wanting to wake up my boyfriend and be like, I need help. I'm like freaked out. So I went and talked about it in therapy instead. And it's like, I have all these like stuffed animals were like my friends up until I was like maybe 10 because I had a really weird upbringing. And I just like I don't think I had like a real friend until I was like 10. So I like had stuffed animal friends. But yeah, I was talking about that in therapy, and I know it's so stupid too because I'm like, it's fucking stuffed animals. I was literally in a shop with my friends yesterday, and they were like, oh, look at and I was like, it's fine. I saw them coming. It's fine. But it's so stupid to be like an adult woman who cries thinking about like an animatronic dog designed to help people feel less alone. But it makes me feel so profoundly depressed. And yeah, so my therapist was like, where are your stuffed animals? And I'm like, they're in a box in the basement because I can't throw them out. And I also don't want them like upstairs with me. And she's like, why don't you get them out of a box and then like have a tea party with them and see what they have to like teach you or tell you about childhood.
Wow.
I know.
Did you do it yet?
No, because I had to come here. Yeah, it was on Thursday and I flew out on a Friday. I was like, ha ha ha.
Avoid it. I'm out.
But like, no, there is something so bizarre that like, I don't remember, like the last time I cried was in therapy on Thursday talking about this. That was the last time I cried. And it just like, there you go. And it's like, yeah, so as you know, triggers are like a hole you fall into in a ground that you don't see in front of you. It's not just like, I think there's a lot of confusion and conflating of it with other things in order to minimize them for people, I think.
Therapy's been cool.
Yes, those are talking about therapy. How about you, Evian?
Wow.
Since you asked the question
I
that
know.
started
I'm like,
this.
shit, should I ask this question?
No, it was so good. It was like the right laugh.
Sadist over here says yes.
Oh my.
I just cried about stuffed animals. Like, you can say whatever you want.
Oh,
Can we do this every day?
Well, first
This
of
is
all, I
great.
want to say thank you all for sharing. That's really vulnerable.
This is a session, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. What did I talk about in therapy? I talked about white supremacy.
Well.
Yeah, and how like white supremacy is oppressive for me, and the ways in which I try to pacify white supremacy. Sort of what I was talking about earlier about like being friendly when I don't want to be friendly, but I feel like I have to like ramp down my blackness in order for people to feel like you are trustworthy or whatever.
You're a safe person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I mean, that's hard as fuck.
Yeah. No, a lot of my sessions in therapy have been talking about white supremacy and also my daddy issues. My daddy issues are pretty big too.
Dads.
Yeah. For me, I didn't realize like how traumatized I was until I went into therapy. Like it really shed light on, because like I was raised in a household that was like by all means and purposes like a healthy family. Like my parents were together and they were in sort of a happy marriage, and I had a sister. Like there was a lot of stability in my life, and so I sort of walked around thinking that the experiences that I had, the way that I felt in my body, the relationship that I had with my dad and my mom, how like I just thought that was normal. And it wasn't until I was in therapy that was like, oh my God, this is fucked up. Like this was really fucked up, and it was insidious. And I think for me, I always thought that trauma equals some sort of physical violence done against you. And I realized that like, oh wow, I've had a lot of emotional violence done against me. And like recognizing that, yeah, it's been fucking trippy to be in therapy. And I'm like, oh, this isn't just like, well, it was a thing that happened that one time. It was an isolated event. It was more like, no, that's
Something
the
that's
trauma.
still affecting, yeah.
Right.
I mean, covert abuse and emotional abuse can almost be more difficult to unpack because you're spending half of your energy questioning its validity.
Yes.
And it's not so explicitly in your face that you're forced to confront it in the same way.
Right.
And I think that's also why so many people are afraid to go to therapy, or why so many people go to therapy and don't do their work. They just sit there performing some kind of story for their therapist.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. It's so hard to talk about those things.
Like trauma has so many levels to it. When we talk about like triggers, like people are like, well, this isn't a trigger. I'm like, triggers are anything that can affect your five senses. And they're like, well, I had smelled this thing and then it like did this thing. And I was like, uh-huh. And they're like, well, like it's literally anything. You can visually see something and it can take you out of yourself. And you'd be like, I didn't even think that was a thing until it happened. Like a lot of times people are like, well, tell me all your triggers. Bitch, I don't know all my triggers. I don't know. I can tell you the ones that I know. I can tell you if something comes up, how to possibly support me. But it's not like I can be like, day one.
Also, like, how much time do you have? Yeah.
Yeah.
List
Day
all my
one.
triggers.
The first time I saw this one, like it's not a realistic thing.
Right.
And I think that's sometimes hard for people to compartmentalize that, like, there's just like no one way trauma looks, or like sexual assault.
Let's talk about non-monogamy.
Is everyone non-monogamous?